Friday the 13th, and it is I, Dr. Blood, sitting in my beanbag, just wanting to figure out what to watch. And I'm dreaming about Friday the 13th, part 2. It's gonna be good.
Released in 1981, Friday the 13th, Part 2 would be the directorial debut of Steve Miner, taking over for Cunningham, and was originally supposed to be like Halloween and an anthology series, but because of the original film's popularity, they instead went with continuing the mythology of Crystal Lake. Adrienne King and Keke Palmer would of course reprise their roles, as this film would bring the return of Jason, but before he dons the hockey mask.
So without further ado, here is part 2.
A Steve Miner film.
Washed the spider out. Out came the...
Not that type of miner!
Our film begins with the first movie survivor having nightmares in the form of clips of the first film, recapping the entire thing, all while an unknown stalker is lurking outside her home. When she wakes up, she talks to her mom on the phone about moving on from life, but after a shower becomes the newest victor... Our film begins with Alice, the first movie's survivor, having nightmares in the form of the clips of the first film, recapping the entire thing, all while an unknown stalker is lurking outside her home. When she wakes up, she talks to her mom on the phone about moving on from life, but after a shower becomes the newest victim of cat jump scares.
That looks like Hero's cat. I like that cat. He's cute.
Alice then becomes the first victim after finding Pamela's head in her fridge and stabbed with an ice pick.
That's what you get for putting your head in the fridge instead of the freezer. It just rots.
We meet Jeff and Sandra, two new counselors, asking for directions to the camp, getting a warning from Crazy Ralph.
Dude!
The two get their truck towed, only for it to be a prank by their friend Ted, the so-called comedy relief of the film. They head to the campsite, but come across a tree in the road, and while the guys move it, Sandra finds the old Crystal Lake sign. We then see another...
Come on, she didn't even grab the right butt cheek.
We meet the rest of the campers, but one named Jenny happens to be late, and Paul is mad because she's supposed to be his assistant.
I promise you, I'll never ever be late again in my entire life.
Don't you listen to her on that. That's how you end up a parent.
Paul has some misogynistic views, but helps Jenny's car get fixed, and that we have a fire pit as he tells everyone the story of Jason, and Ted helps jump scare everyone. The group then enjoy the cabin and what it has to offer, and Paul enjoys what Jenny has to offer.
Your secret's safe with me.
Crazy Ralph is being a perv and killed for it, and the next day the dog Muffin disappears, and Sandra drags Jeff to see Camp Blood. But all they find is nothing but a different dead dog, and a cop who catches them, and is angry that Paul does nothing to punish them.
No punishment? What kind of place is this?
Jenny,
Yes, Paul.
no seconds on dessert for Jeff and Sandra tonight?
No more cheesecake for you.
The cop becomes the next victim as he sees the killer in a chase through the forest until he finds the killer cabin, investigating it, and quickly dies via hammer to the skull.
Stop! hammer time.
The counselors that night have another meeting, and Paul allows counselors to decide if they want one last night to party, so everyone makes their choices, except for Sandra and Jeff, who are voluntold that they are watching the cabin, while Terry skinny dips. The two couples pair off as Scott steals Terry's clothes, but while she chases him, he steps in a rope trap.
No longer funny, Scott.
Guess it's time for Scott to hang around.
While Terry looks for a way to get him down, his throat is slit, and Terry is presumably killed off camera when she finds him again. At the bar, Jenny is the only one who questions whether or not Jason could still exist, and which the guys are quickly to dismiss. Vicky then wants to know why Mark is in his chair.
Mark, what happened? Did you have to be in a chair?
Don't you know it's 2024? You still can't say stuff like that. What is wrong with you?
Vicky then heads to cabin to freshen up for Mark, and it begins to storm again. Mark is then the next to die as he is sliced with a machete and wheeled down the set of stairs.
Mark died so tragically he became a white light. It hurts my face.
The next to die are Sandra and Jeff as their fun time becomes less fun times when they are both speared and then Vicky gets knifed in the gut. Paul and Jenny then get back to camp, finding a bloody bed and investigating further. We finally see Jason for the first time.
What the fuck is this? I was promised a hockey mask, not a town that sun forgot, or whatever the hell that other slasher movie was called.
Paul is seemingly knocked out as Jenny tries to run and hide, with Jason going after her throughout the house. She tries to get away in her car, but it doesn't work. Jenny eventually finds her way to another cabin hiding under a bed. In her scared state, she wets herself, or it's the rat. I don't know.
So the way that is shot, you can't tell if that's Jenny peeing on the floor, the rat, or the bed. What the fuck?
The chase begins again, but due to a terrible chair, Jason's pitchfork breaks and Jenny tries to use the chainsaw to no avail. Jenny then finds Jason's shrine to his mother and through her quick thinking, uses the sweater to trick him, and it almost works.
You're not my mommy. My mommy dead. I don't know what I'm doing. Are we done with this yet? Meow.
Paul reemerges, which gives Jenny the chance to attack Jason with the machete in the shoulder. We then get two jump scare endings, one being Muffin being alive and the other being an unmasked Jason. The final ending, though, shows her being escorted by an ambulance, questioning where Paul went. Just like the first film, the second film met a lot of negative backlash since it was deemed so problematic that many scenes had to be cut, including a nude scene with Sandra because they found out the actress was a minor. The movie, however, was still a box office hit, making $21 million on a $1 million budget, and one of the best behind-the-scenes facts is the amount of things Steve Dosowski, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, went through from burns on his face due to the burlap sack, but also had to be rushed to the ER after Amy Steele accidentally cut his hand with the machete, resulting in 13 stitches.
And the funny thing about the stitches is I also got 13 stitches in my middle finger. So we're stitch buddies. But mine's for a lot less cooler thing. But that being said, Friday the 13th Part 2 is great. There's, honestly, other than, people not liking the fact that it's just a slaughter fest, but it's a slasher movie, so it's what you get. It is one of the best sequels to any slasher franchise that's ever come to date. And honestly, it's one of my personal favorite slasher movies of all time. That being said, we'll see you next month for a little bloody summer camp.